Welcome to the AECOsim Building Designer Connect Edition. In this session, I will walk you through an example of a federated BIM model and how it is organized. For this, I will use the delivered example project, the multi-use retail building, which you will find under the AECOsim Examples workspace, and there is a multi-use retail building, both US and metric. So let's start by browsing and seeing the files that make up this project. If I take a look at the files in my design folder, you'll note first that they're divided down by discipline. The architectural files all start with an A. There's a couple of civil files, electrical files. There's even a generative components file for the roof geometry. And then we have interiors files, mechanical files, and structural files. If I take a look at the architectural files, you'll find there's a discipline master model. This would be the file where all of the different working models that we can see here are referenced together to create the architectural master model. In addition, you'll see there's an electrical discipline master, a mechanical discipline master, and a structural discipline master. Then I have a composition drawing model. So this is where I would create the architectural drawings, and it composes the other disciplines into it as well. Now you might notice there are several composition models. For instance, there is one for rendering. So this is again just another master model with different files referenced into it, in this case for the purpose of rendering rather than creating drawings. So I'm going to start by opening up this A discipline master model, and we'll look how the architectural model is assembled. In other words, how all these working files, the grocery, the loft, the penthouse, the roof, are assembled together to make the architectural master model. So this is the discipline master for the architectural model, which means it includes all the geometry for the architectural discipline of the model. There's no structural elements, there's no mechanical or electrical elements. These are all the architectural elements. And nothing is actually modeled here in this file. It is simply a container that holds the reference files of the other various models where the geometry is actually referenced. In this case, the model has been divided by floor, so that we'll find a model for the grocery, and then for each of these loft apartments, and then the penthouse level and the roof. So to see that, I'm going to go ahead and open up the reference dialog. We can see here the various references that make up this building. There's a grocery floor, also a mezzanine for the grocery, and then we have these various loft floors, a penthouse floor, and the roof floor. Now that roof is actually modeled using generative components. If you're interested in that, you may want to watch the session on generative components. But let's turn some of these floors off and focus on just the loft floors. So one of the criteria in setting up this model is we wanted flexibility in determining the mix of units needed in the building. So we've created a couple of different layouts, an A loft layout A and an A loft layout B. And if you look at layout B here, this top unit here, you can see that that has basically three large units there, and I'm going to go ahead and just turn that off so we can see the loft layout A, and you can see that has some smaller units, 6 units per floor. And by having these different layouts in a reference file, I could easily switch them in and out of the model, thereby rearranging the mix of units. I'm going to expand our tree here so that we can actually see what's nested to each of those layout floors. So each layout floor is made up of a core file and an exterior skin file. And you can see that's the same file in all cases. Let's go ahead and turn layout B back on. So if any changes need to be made to the exterior skin or the core, those are made in one file and it's updated in all of the files. But the actual units, the layouts, are in each of these different layout files. And so by changing those here in our discipline master model, I could change the mix of units. So I'm going to open up the Schedules dialog just to illustrate this point. I'm going to go ahead and expand my space type, and I've actually got a schedule set up here in example loft modules. So this just gives us a count of the various modules that we have. So you can see currently I've got 8 one-bedroom units, 2 two-bedroom units, 2 two-bedrooms with study, 2 3-bedrooms, and 1 4-bedroom. Now if I want to change that mix around, I could simply come up to my reference dialog and double-click on that loft layout B, for instance, browse, and replace it with the loft layout A. And if I look at my Schedules dialog, you can see that it has refreshed, and I no longer have the 3 and 4-bedroom units. Now I simply have 12 one-bedroom units, 3 two-bedroom units, and 3 two-bedroom with study. So this is one of the advantages of the federated BIM model, in that it is very flexible, and I can switch in and out different reference files and immediately change all the data on the model. So I'm going to go ahead and close that dialog. We'll go ahead and display back on all the reference files. And I'm going to go ahead and open the drawing composition model. Again, I'll open the reference dialog, and we can see here we've got first a site model, and then we've got that architectural discipline model, which we were just looking at. And then there's a structural discipline, a mechanical discipline, and an electrical discipline. And if I were to expand the tree over here, we can see the whole hierarchy of that. So for instance, if I look at that architectural discipline master, we can see those floors that we were just looking at. Note, we've got 3 layout A's. That was the change we just made to the architectural model. If I were to expand the structural model, I can see the files that make that up. Same for the mechanical. So that should give you an overview of how this particular model was organized, some of the reasoning behind the organization that was chosen. As you could see, one of the criteria was that we could easily change the loft floors in and out so that we could change the mix around. So every model's different, but this is a good example of one way a building model might be organized.